A very good afternoon to you. That was me frenetically trying to one-handedly show you the arrival, the DHL arrival of the Nikon F3, the unused Nikon F3. I should say there are other couriers available. So, what of it? Here it is. It's it's a camera that I've wanted for a while, but there's more of a story to it than just wanting a camera, which I will endeavour to talk about in this vlog. And ask other questions. Why an unused one? What does an unused from Japan eBay camera mean? Does that mean new? Does that mean, what does it mean? What condition is it in? Let's unbox it and have a look. As you can obviously tell, I'm very keen to do. Here we go. Let's have a go. The box itself looks pretty good. I mean, it's got one or two little kind of creases, but all in all, very, very good. It does not look, 40 years old. This is a later serial number, so I'm guessing round about 96, 97, something like that. Got a strap in there, which I'm not going to use because that's too bright and garish for street photography. Don't like anything like that. Perfectly nice strap, I should say. That looks in unused condition. Perfect condition. But yeah, not for me. I mean, they're nice straps, but yeah, yellow. Yeah. Anyway, perfectly good for anything else other than street photography. You just don't want to be that bright and garish. I should just have a little look in the box here. So yeah. Just some paperwork, some D-rings. That's all in immaculate condition. No instruction manual, but you can download those from the internet, no problem at all. The F3, official instruction manual. I don't need it because I know this camera inside out, so that wasn't a big deal to me. And if I were thinking of reselling it or something like that, then yes, it would have been something bone of contention, I guess. But I'm not. So yeah, some D-rings. I don't remember these little guards. These look like leather guards, which are quite nice. I don't use these D-rings because they scratch the paint. They're perfectly functional, they're very good, they're very strong, except they scratch the paint, so not interested in those one bit. I will probably use my Artisan and Artist strap. Very, very comfortable. Silk, very, very strong, very, very comfortable. This is the slightly longer one, the 306, I think it's called, because I like to go diagonally across. So some bubble wrap, move that out the way, and a bag, plastic bag, nothing to write home about, but more importantly, the camera itself, along with this plastic plate protector. So I'm going to take that off carefully. Oh, there we go. Just a little thing there that goes into the tripod mount socket. So let's pop that over there. And here is the camera with the with a body cap. It does have the sync protector cap, which is nice, and it also has this screw-on protector eye guard or whatever you call it. As so. Now, first off, to my eyesight, that looks pretty damn perfect. Just looking at the base plate here, because that's where you're going to get a load of scratches and what have you. And that looks, I don't know how much you can see, that looks as clean as a whistle. In this light anyway. Looks spotless. Now, unused, let's define a few terms here, does not mean new. Does that mean it was a shop demo? I'm not sure. I don't know. It's a little bit apprehensive because, hey, you know, you get so many photos, don't you? And I mean, it looked as absolutely perfect. As far as I could tell, but they are just photos, so you are a little bit, you know, lighting and what have you, and you're trying to expand the photographs to look for blemishes, and absolutely no, nothing in there. So, wow. Let me just couple it. So this is my original F3. That in itself is in really, really good condition. I'm just going to take the lens off that and pair it up with this. Take the lens cap off here. Okay. They can always go back to front for some reason, but hey. Okay. So, a moment of truth, really. Drum roll. Okay, that focusing screen, that looks absolutely, wow, perfect. Really, really perfect. Spotless. And that is just beautiful in itself. I mean, the F3 has the brightest viewfinder of any film SLR camera. It is astonishing. There's like probably half a stop differential between what my human eye can see and what the camera sees. And that is bright. That is very, very bright. So, yeah, and it's clean. So that's really, really lovely. No, that's me. My fingerprint for my own digits. So, that's paired with the 50mm 1.8 pancake lens, the Japanese version, which is 0.45 closest focusing distance, which is just a beautiful, beautiful 50mm standard lens. and that's kind of what you have here. There are 3 versions of this lens. This is the best one, and this is the only lens that this camera will ever know. So that's my original one. Why have I gone ahead and bought an unused one, paid over the odds? Excuse me. Even though I've got a really good deal with this, it's over the odds for a used F3, obviously, because it's unused, so it's in impeccable condition. This is also in good condition and a reasonably late serial number. This is 193 and this is 198. So I did ask, I'm not going to take the door off here, but I did ask the seller what the code was, and he said 87. First 2 digits you go by, you take the door off, and you have 2 digits. 8, it pertains to the month, which is August, 8th month, August, and 7 is, it's because these cameras were first built in 1980, it could have been 87. So 8 is August, and the 7 pertains to the last year. So it could have been 87 or 97. But because this is a late serial number, it's 97. So August 97 is when this came off the production line. They finished production in 2001. So this is a very recent, one of the most recent F3s you can get. 4 years, that sounds like a long time, but if the production run is 21 years, 4 years before the production finish date is very new, it's very recent. So, you know, I didn't want to get an unused camera that had a very old serial number, which, you know, of 82 or 83 or 4 or 5, because, you know, it's a contradiction in terms, isn't it? I'm not really gaining much by that. So yeah, this is my original F3. Why am I buying, if this is in decent condition and not a late serial number, why am I buying another one? Well, number one, I love this camera. This is my favorite SLR camera of all time. And it's not just a favorite camera. I believe it's really the best. It's a bit of a outlandish thing to say, but I really do believe it's at least one of the very, very best SLR film cameras ever made. These were Nikon's professional cameras. This is their 3rd professional camera. Now, they made other cameras like the FE2, the FM2, which were very, very good cameras, absolutely beautiful cameras, but they're semi-professional. And that, well, I'm not saying that to try and be derogatory towards those cameras. That was the terminology that they gave them. These, on the other hand, were built to very, very high standards. If you go on the internet and you look for camera repair people, Nikon camera repairers, they all sort of love the FM2. Now, is that a good reason to buy an FM2? Number one, with a manual camera, you can get under the hood, so to speak, and get your hands dirty. And I believe that out of all the sort of semi-professional cameras, the FM2 is one of the very best. I really do. And so do they. If you're in the market for a second-hand camera, now I'm not gonna give you advice. Well, I'll give you maybe some advice, or as far as I understand it, but I'm not going to give you recommendations. Just what I found out. I used to own the Canon A1. Canon A1s had gorgeous optics, as do Nikon. But Nikon, and I should say Pentax, Shy Pentax were amazing. I had the ME Super, a lovely little, again, semi-professional, amateur stroke professional camera, but not really a professional camera. But you know, it was a 35mm SLR camera with very, very good lenses. Now these cameras, as much as I loved them at the time, would I buy one now? And you can get them. And I would club into that little cluster of cameras, the Minolta X700, for example, all really good cameras for their time. But from the release date, 15 years on, they started to have problems. Not, you know, there weren't sort of recalls or anything like that. No, they just weren't built to the same standard as these cameras. They, you know, they owed you nothing. I mean, they gave you very good value for money. 15 years of anything is great value as far as I'm concerned. But would I buy one now, 40 years down the line? No. You can get them, they're still working, but look at what the repairers say, and that tells you everything you need to know. The A1, the much loved Canon A1, which I also loved. I absolutely love this camera. Problems with the prism, problems with the battery door that shears off very easily. I think the plastic has become brittle over years or something. All these little things that, are they good? You know, are they that good to buy now? These things, on the other hand, are absolutely bulletproof. I mean, it's not just the materials used. It's what they do and how good they are. So it's not just like, oh, a slightly nicer metal or something like that. Look, the design is phenomenal. 40 years on, you know, there are millions of vlogs out there. Not millions, but you know what I mean. A lot of vlogs out there that, you know, everybody loves these cameras. Everybody says how amazingly rugged they are. And look, you can't get better proof than longitude, than 40 years. These are still going really, really strong. These are still, you know, without having been into a repairers, without having had a CLA, without, you know, no. You know, people talk about Leicas and passing those down to your children. Well, hang on a minute. You know, this is, I don't know, this is what, 90, probably a 95 camera. That's 27 years old. 27 years old. And it's, you know, everything on it, I've done a vlog on this camera, everything on it, all the torques are exactly the same. Nothing has loosened, nothing has become a little bit slack or a bit slow. No, it's firing and working perfectly. Everything. The LCD, the little light here, you know, even Nikon used to say in their manual, their instruction manual, that the LCDs will probably go after 7 years or so. Pop in and we'll replace it free of charge. They're still going strong. They didn't, because they were brand new at that time, they didn't know how long they'd last. But they still work 27 years later. Not that it would be a problem if they didn't, because you can just use it as is without the dial if you need to. So, you know, it's other things as well. This is 100% viewfinder coverage. So what you see is what you get. Exactly. 100%. The semi-professional cameras, more like 93. I mean, that doesn't sound like an awful lot, but it is beautiful knowing that you can precisely compose an image. And that is exactly what you're going to get. Now, it doesn't make too much difference to me personally, but I would imagine if you're setting a camera on a tripod and you want to really compose every single element, you know, I compose a lot in my shots in street photography or reportage. And so it is important, but it's not... Just hold a second. hold that thought just one moment. Back again. Apologies for that. Sod's law, hey, and all that. So yeah, I think I was talking about framing and this being 100%, which is a really nice thing. I mean, critical composition is more important in some, in some cases more than others, but it's nice to have. It is nice to have, and actually, technically speaking, very difficult to do, which is why it's only on a few cameras. So, in terms of investing in this camera, in terms of the quality of this camera, touched on the robustness of this camera. This camera has a dampening with the seals and with the mirror flapping up. That creates a vibration of sorts. With a sort of semi-professional camera, I would say 125, 250th of a second to ensure that the film plane isn't affected by that mirror slap. With the F3, it's more like 1/60th of a second, 1/2/5 of a second. That's how much it's dampened by. So it's a real advantage. I mean, look, it's not a deal breaker, but it's still lovely to have. I'm not talking about handshake here or camera shake and your ability to hold the camera still. I'm talking about the physical slap of a mirror. It's more dampened in the F3, which means that you can shoot at slower shutter speeds and still keep a really crisp image. So that's another lovely thing. Apart from anything else, I mean, it's, I'm not going to go over old ground because, as I say, I've already done a vlog on the F3. If you want to visit my channel, I talk about it at length there. This is more to do with buying an unused camera. Now, to my eye, it all looks perfect. I mean, it really does. I'm actually really surprised. As I say, I don't know whether unused just means it was a shop demo camera or what. But there are just no markings on this. And the viewfinder, as I say, is crystal clear. I mean, absolutely clean as a whistle. So beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Why, if I've already got one, would I invest in this? And not just buy a second-hand one. Well, a second-hand one, I'm not going to find a used camera, a used F3, more specifically, in better quality or better condition than this. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, yes, it's been with me a long time. I learnt on this thing. As I say, I know everything about this camera, all its little nuances and what have you. So I wouldn't be really gaining anything. And in the second-hand market, and this is second-hand, it's not new, it's not listed as new, even though it's got the box and everything else with it, and it looks mint. It really does look in excellent condition. I'm not using eBay terms in the actual sense. I just mean in real terms. It looks mint. So with the second-hand market, there is an inherent gamble. There just is. You haven't got that manufacturer's warranty. With this, I'll put a film through it, obviously do all the checks, and I've got a month's grace to return it if anything goes wrong with it. Check all the shutter speeds, convinced that there's no fungus or anything like that on this camera. But that said, there's still that risk, Look, this is my original camera. I don't know whether this is going to last another 25 years or 25 days. This could go on me at any point. and I just, you know, I have no guarantee. If this went on me tomorrow, if this went on me today after this vlog, I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna pat this camera and say thank you very much, because I've not lost. This camera owes me nothing. I owe this camera. This camera has given me such amazing service. So look, but exactly the same thing applies with this. Now, therein lies a strange kind of thing. What, you know, unused is unused. I don't believe for a second it hasn't been out of the box before and that kind of thing. People haven't handled it. It didn't come with the bit of card that goes over the where the film plane goes. So look, but here's the thing. Does unused, even if it probably has had a tiny bit of use, I don't think any film has been put through this. All the rails look perfectly clean. But is that an advantage? You know, you hear of cars, you know, if they're not used, they seize up. I don't know what unused means. I don't know whether that's a gamble in itself. I mean, it sounds nice, isn't it? Unused. But what does that mean in real terms? You know, is it better that it was used, if you see what I mean? I don't know. And therein lies the gamble. If, you know, it's an electronic shutter, so look, there's just an inherent gamble, and you can't escape that. I don't know whether the fact that it's unused is an advantage or a disadvantage. Time will tell. You know, I've got a month's grace, and if it goes, you know, if it stops working after 2 months, and I'm, you know, hey, I've got to take it on the chin. But I don't know what unused means in terms of whether that's an advantage with an F3 camera or not. If it was a mechanical camera, I would at least know that it could go in for service and be repaired. With this, you know, being an half electronic camera, it can be used manually or electronic or automatic, sort of aperture priority mode. I just don't know. You know, one would think that being unused would mean that you've got extra longevity with the camera, but it might mean the exact opposite. It might mean because it hasn't been used for 25 years, 25, so 97, so yeah, 25 years, maybe that's a disadvantage. Maybe it should have been used and it should have had whatever oils it has running through it and turning over and what have you. I don't know. Is it worth the gamble? Well, I can't tell that either, because if it goes in 2 months' time, then no, it wasn't worth the gamble. But if it doesn't go in you know, 2 months' time or 2 years' time, then I mean, the bottom line for me, my own personal reason why I went for it, why I've gambled and paid slightly over the odds, slightly more than a used camera, even though I got a good deal on it, it's because I can't imagine if my original F3 goes tomorrow, I do not want to be without an F3 camera in my life. I just don't. I've got my MP, I know, but this is, I won't say a second camera because it gets used a lot. Not as much as the MP, but it does get used a lot. So I suppose it is a second camera, but I love this camera. That's the important thing. It's not something that sits on the shelf looking pretty. It gets used, and I don't want to not have an F3 in my arsenal, in my life. I would really be very upset not to have my F3. It's as important to me as my MP. It's, I'm talking about paying over the odds slightly, but in real terms, I could buy 7 of these unused cameras for the price of the MP. Okay? And this has got the pedigree. Okay? This has got the longevity, the knowledge that they are workhorses. They are robust, amazing cameras. And the F3 is just in my DNA. It is slightly nostalgic because I learnt on this camera, on my original F3, I should say. I know it inside out, as I mentioned, and it's part of my DNA. It's part of my SLR film DNA, and I would just not want to be without it. Yes, I could buy other cameras, but for the price of an F3, in today's market, this is the best buy by a long way. Sort of lesser cameras are more expensive, unbelievably. And so I think this is an amazing buy. I'm talking about paying over the odds for an unused one, but in real terms, there's still very, very good value for money. Extremely good value for money, and incredibly reliable. And that's not my opinion. That is 42 years of pedigree and legendary status that this camera has accumulated, all on its own. So yeah, that's why it's worth it to me. That's the idea behind it. It could go pear-shaped on me for sure. I recognize that, but this I mentioned I owe this camera. The camera doesn't owe me anything, and so if I put something back into the F3, and hopefully and it pays off, then look, I still don't, even if I bought this, I still don't feel as though the cameras will owe me anything. I've been using these since 1986, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but they're thereabouts. Maybe 87, 88, something like that. But anyway, these are just, for me, these are the best buy on the market. These are, in terms of the risk element, this camera, there is less risk with this camera than any other SLR film camera out there, because they are so reliable, because they are so robust. That doesn't mean that you can't buy one, but look, let's think about it. These were the professional camera. This was the state-of-the-art camera of the day. Nothing like it. Okay, Canon didn't have an equivalent. There were no cameras as good as these back in the day when they first came out. Now, you talk about Friday afternoon models that go under the radar of quality control. I dare say there were one or two of these that did, but not many. And over 42 years, my thinking is they have been wheeled out a long time ago. Yeah, those have just gone into the trash and been returned or whatever. The ones that weren't Friday afternoon cameras, those are the ones in production, or not in production, but in circulation today. Those are the ones you can buy today. You've got, these have been to wars, okay? You see them on eBay. Not advertisers, war cameras, but ones that have been so trashed, and, that's just cosmetics. They're still working very, very well. I mean, you've got to do your tests like any other camera, fungus and all that kind of stuff. Make sure shutter speeds are correct, which I will do with a fresh film. So, yeah. I, you know, it's worth it to me. This camera is absolutely worth it to me. It, you know, as I say, it may go pear-shaped on me. I really don't know, but I can't think of another camera that is going to be more trouble-free, robust, and reliable as the F3. And I'm just over the moon to have this version, this absolutely, you know, impeccable, absolutely impeccable version. Again, with a really clean, viewfinder. Mine is not bad. It's pretty good. It is actually pretty damn good, but it's not as clean as that by any stretch. They're both the same focusing screens, the K whatever focusing screens, which I think are the best. You get 20. Well, I think there's 24 of them that you can get. Some with grids for architectural photography. You can get 4 or 5 different prism finders, vertical, you know, like the Hasselblad vertical viewfinders, prism finders. You know, this is the most comprehensive camera with the most, you know, staggering array of lenses that you can attach to this. It's absolutely unsurpassed. I mean, just phenomenal. And they are amazing lenses. I mean, really beautiful lenses. This 1.8 is, you know, incredible. And, you know, not just optically brilliant, but smooth and buttery. I mean, that's every bit as good as a Leica. Just perfect tension. The other two lenses that, you know, that are the same as this, optically they are the same, but they don't have that beautiful, perfect feel to them. And they don't focus at 0.45. I think they focus at 0.7 or something like that. It's not as close as this one anyway. And you can tell it's a Nikkor. It's not an E lens, and it normally has 2 at the beginning of it on the serial number. But just the best that were made, and they were made for the Japanese. They were predominantly made for the Japanese market. So you tend to have to go to Japan to get one. I mean, not literally, but buy one from Japan off eBay or wherever. So, you know, it's, yeah. If it was just a great camera and you couldn't get great lenses for it, not so good. Not, yeah, defeating the object. You know, if you can get a great body, if you can get a great camera, that's all well and good. But the key thing, the overriding thing, I've said it before, I'll say it again, you must have great optics. The best optics you can possibly buy. It's like getting spending £1,500 on a beautiful coffee machine. If you haven't got a proper grinder, no point. You can't regulate the bean properly, and you're not going to get a good extraction, and it's not going to be consistent, and it'll scorch the bean, not grind the bean with a blade rather than grinders, all that kind of stuff. No point. You know, don't buy a beautiful body and put a cheap lens on it, because it, you know, you're shooting yourself in the foot. It doesn't make any sense. There's no point to that. Better to have a great lens and sacrifice the body if you're going to do that every time. The optics are what are really important. I'm not saying it has to be Leica or you know, just make sure that you're aware of what a lens does. Edge-to-edge perfection, sharpness, and no vignetting. Yeah, unless you like vignetting. But don't cry if you've got vignetting on every image and you don't want it on every image. It's okay having it on the occasional image, but you know, I would argue that you can put that in Photoshop or in Lightroom to have it stamped on every single negative is, you know, not a good thing in my opinion. I don't want that. I just want as perfect a negative as possible. So yeah, I'm diverging a little bit, getting off the point. That is the F3. That is the unboxing of the unused F3, and I am going to enjoy using this camera hugely, hugely, hugely. I feel like I've, you know, maybe I'll sell this camera, you know, and then this has cost me very little. But hopefully what I've done is kind of increase my longevity with the F3. That's the idea. It's not about, oh, it's a pretty camera and it hasn't got any scratches or dents on it. I mean, that is lovely as well, especially the viewfinder. But it's about ensuring that I have an F3 tomorrow. And that's, for me personally, is a very lovely feeling. It's a very gratifying feeling. Yeah, puts a smile on my face. It really does. So that's it. Yeah. Thank you very much for stopping by. Sorry about the interruptions, or the interruption. And see you again for the next one. Cheers for now.